Welcome back, everybody, to yet another episode of Drive Sales Show. It's yours truly with my man, Jerad Lovett from NexMuv. How you doing, my man?
Very good. Thanks for having me.
Oh, look, it's a pleasure. So, a little bit of background. So, Jerad owns NexMuv. They're doing a couple of great things with the company within the moving industry. One of the things is, move now, pay later. It's a hot topic, especially now. So, walk me through how, why, when a bit.
Well, if anybody's been involved in moving, whether it's you personally or actually being in the industry, there are way too many horror stories. And I grew up in the industry. I started actually on the dock when I was about 12 and started in the warehouse, the crew, accounting, the office, got operations and sales, just every bit of it. But the whole time I kept seeing all these horror stories out of the community of moving, even if it wasn't us specifically, if it was, you just hear about them all the time. And every mover's got plenty of them. Unfortunately, a lot of customers have them too. And I was sick of it. There needs to be something better. And so that's what NexMuv was. We're focused on the customer, giving the customer what they wanted, what they deserve, helping them understand the move process, just trying to get them moved appropriately, like they should be.
So now you touched upon what the customers should get. So how about this? Let's start from the beginning. I'm a customer that's moving. This is my first move. I'm going cross country. I know nothing about moving. Like I know jack crap about moving. I can cuss. I don't know why I haven't cussed, but this is a great plus for me. Anyway, so I don't know anything about moving. Can you please share some light on this and the horror stories that come with it? Why?
Oh man. Yeah, we did a deep dive into the customer journey. I kind of knew it just because I've been in the industry, but we went ahead and dove into it, got all the data. And customers, even if they moved before, they average moving every 3.5 years. So by the time they're moving again, they usually forget by then. So a typical customer, first time, 10th time, doesn't matter. They usually go to Google and just type in, I need a mover near me, interstate mover, local mover, something like that. But as most of us know, the Google piece, the SEO piece, they're completely dominated by lead generation companies or gigantic multi-billion-dollar companies that are hard to compete with for the actual mover themselves. You have like UPAC and U-Haul. You have the big van lines that kind of just act like brokers right now. And so the typical customer goes to Google. They might find a place to like enter some of their information. Oh, you need a move? Yeah, give me your email and your phone number. And the next thing they get is inundated with 15 movers calling them and text them for the next 2 weeks. Terrible customer journey, terrible. And so they back up, they're like, oh my goodness, this is awful. So then the customer usually does a little bit of research, maybe themselves. At some point, they'll reach out on social media, on Facebook, hey, anybody have a good mover? But the next piece is they don't realize that just because the mover did a good job moving a friend doesn't mean that mover is actually compliant to perform their move, because there's so many different regulations on different jurisdictions. And not only that, there could be completely different pricing or completely different tariffs or labor laws. It just kind of gets mind-boggling once you're a customer and you start understanding this stuff. And so you start digging into the process, and they finally just kind of give up at the end. They really do. And what happens when they give up is they typically invite 3-4 movers to their house, walk them around, show them everything. Then they're comparing all these estimates, and they're estimates, which means legally the mover can actually change the price after they have your stuff on the truck. They can lock it up legally and not give it to you until you pay more. Legally, they can take it to their warehouse and lock it up and charge you more for warehouse handling and storage fees until you pay the bill. It's an estimate. Before they even get to that point, they're comparing these 3 or 4 different estimates, and it's kind of like apples to oranges because all these price breakdowns that don't even match. And then there's all these little terms all over the place that you have to try to read and say the pricing could change because of fuel or because of extra services or because you need a shuttle because a big truck won't fit. It just keeps getting worse and worse for the customer. And then that's not even getting into the claims process. And then the claims process could take 90 days, could take 6 months, could take 9 months. Um, Obviously, movers fight really hard not to pay those claims. The brokers in between try to wash their hands of it, but they're the ones that took the money. So that's where the customer usually goes. They're like, oh, you didn't read the fine print. We're not liable. Go talk to the mover. And then there's other pieces of that too, depending on the jurisdiction. If you don't sign the bill of lading in the right place, then all of a sudden the valuation that covers your claims can change without you even knowing about it. You go from 60 cents to $8 a pound. The mover might fight you on it. I mean, it gets complicated really fast.
That sounds that sounds awesome. And me, as
Yeah.
I'm doing the first time right now, I have full trust into this awesome process that you just listed. It sounds phenomenal to me personally. I can't wait to get moving, and
Yeah.
I can't wait. So cool. We went through that ordeal with research, finding the mover. Now I am done finding a mover, and I've picked NexMuv. I've picked you guys to move from wherever. Let's use New York to Seattle. That's a
Long
road
move.
map. Now, what do I need to know as a customer? I've got an estimate. I've chosen you. What do I need to know as a customer to make sure that this move goes smoothly, even though not everything is in my hands?
That's how it should be. Everything shouldn't be in your hands. You hear how complicated it is. There's no way. Actually, let me say there's no way an average mover understands all that, much less an average customer. And because of that, NexMove is taking all of those complexities in the background of our software. With it in the background of the software is pumping this stuff like a machine, like an engine. The harder it is for us to do it behind the scenes, the easier it is for the customer to handle it on their side. The better the customer service, the customer experience will be. So we just ask the customer their current address, where they're moving to, and what date they'd like to move. That's all we ask. Uh, there's so much publicly available data out there through county assessors, through realtor.com, Zillow, I mean, all the different websites. Even places that you bought stuff from is publicly available data. So I might know you have a grand piano in your house. I might know how big your house is, how long you've lived there. As a mover, that's all stuff that I ask whenever I'm doing a survey. And since all that stuff's there, why in the world am I going to make it tough on the customer and ask for it again? Tell me all your information again. So because of that, we have developed a few different complex algorithms, but it ends up giving you on the spot pricing. Um, it's it's similar to like an airlines. We go to airlines, you look at, you know, Expedia.com today, and you look tomorrow, the pricing is probably going to be different. It doesn't stay the same. You have supply and demand. You have other things like we saw the complications last year with trucks shutting down, but then you couldn't rent a truck because nobody could find capacity.
Yeah.
And this year, all of a sudden, fuel prices are creeping up to $10 a gallon some places. So you have all those built into our algorithm. So it gives you a price that's actually pretty darn close. And that's what we tell the customer. It's our job to get the pricing right. Our job. It's not your job to understand it. Here's the price. If you don't want to pay it all right now, that's fine. We can do installment payments. We even have financing, which doesn't affect your credit because a lot of people are buying houses or signing rental agreements, so they don't want their credit hit. So we try to go above and beyond for that. So then once a customer just books, then it's up to us, actually our system, to determine the mover that's best qualified to handle that move. Somebody who is good at handling a move from New York to Seattle. It might be a company in Seattle, and they're used to driving back empty, but now they can drive back with a load on, and they can do it for lesser money. It's good for the mover. We're just a SaaS product, so we don't have much overhead. So it saves the customer money too, provides better quality. It allows the mover to increase their capacity because now they're making more money and they're doing a good job at it and being more efficient. They're not having to fight the gigantic companies for SEO and trying to market against them and trying to sell against them. Also, they have moves that actually fit what they want, fit the business model.
Yeah, I mean, that's that's why one of the reasons moving is a top three stressor in life.
Oh yeah, seriously, it's
No,
ridiculous.
it seriously is. There's research that shows that it's top three.
Yep.
Like public speaking, death, and moving.
Yeah. Yeah. It's sad, and it shouldn't be. It's a service industry.
Yeah,
There's no reason why we can't provide good service.
like,
A,
yeah,
a big thing. Even if the customer finally feels secure picking their own mover, you have some stranger showing up at your house, taking all your stuff away, and then what? If I order a toothbrush on Amazon right now, I can track it to my door. But if a stranger shows up and takes all my stuff out of my house, then what? I just hope he shows up.
you hope. It's a good
Yeah.
strategy. It's a great strategy for life. Hope. I hope it gets there. I
So
hope my stuff is not stolen.
exactly. Yeah, exactly. And you hear all these horror stories, and so they're anxious the whole time. They're calling for updates. They're always reaching out. So we went beyond that too. We gave them the tracking, so they can track their shipment online on their phone, however they want. They can pull up their shipment anytime they want and see where it's at. So they also have the power back in their hands. They feel comfortable. They feel secure. We have an individual customer service person walking them along the whole move process so they can reach out anytime. We call them their personal concierge because they kind of do more than moving. They give them other advice too.
Obviously.
Yeah.
There's always, when you're moving, I feel that you're in therapy.
Oh, completely. Oh, the best customer service lady I've ever worked with. She actually went through therapy training. You're exactly right.
Imagine, like when I say imagine, I've been through this, so I'm not imagining. I'm just hoping not to relive the situations when the customers don't get what they thought they would,
Hmm.
and the experience doesn't match what they perceived. Perception is everything at the end of the day in the customer's eyes.
Yep.
And yeah, I mean, so talk to me a bit about customer service and how that personal concierge touch helps the person like me who's never moved in their life before and have nothing. I don't know nothing about moving, so how do they help me?
Um, the best answer is being proactive, but, but it is difficult because there are thousands of variables. It's wild. I've been doing this 25 years longer, and I always come across new situations. It's so interesting. That's why a lot of movers actually like being in the moving industry because they're like it's always something different every day, no matter how long I've been doing it. But you have to hire good, experienced people that enjoy what they're doing and enjoy trying to help people. That's the key. Because you can be as proactive as possible, which is great tactic. Great tactic. Be proactive. Call ahead of time. Make sure they're fine. Ask if you can do anything. But if you haven't been there before and you haven't done it thousands of times, probably is what you need. Then when different strange variables pop up are out of everybody's control, it could be nothing to do with you at all. It could be that the house closing fell through. I mean, there's the craziest stories, but it could be you got a torrential downpour, you got a foot of snow last night, so you can't get to your house. All kinds of crazy stuff. But that's when customer service goes beyond, and they're able to understand how operations works a little bit, and immediately get a hold of the operations guy. When they're sitting next to each other, then they can make magic happen just instantly. It's amazing.
How about this? If you can share if you can, you don't have to. What is one of the biggest horror stories that you have been personally involved? Because there has to be some, or something that it doesn't. You don't have to say the obviously the customer's name, none of that stuff. What is or something very unexpected? I mean, it doesn't have to be a horror story. It can be
Okay.
something unexpected.
Um, man, I got a really, really good one, but I don't know if I can tell. It's kind of inappropriate.
I mean, if it's inappropriate, it's the perfect place to do inappropriate stuff.
I'll,
Anyway, if you don't feel comfortable, you don't have to. It's completely
I'll,
cool.
I'll, I'll walk. I'll tread lightly. Yeah, there's a national account actually for a big oil company, and they're moving out west of the Rockies. Had a 10-year driver, been with the company 10, 12 years, really good driver. He brought his crew with him, so that's why he was on the job. It was kind of in the middle of nowhere. You're going to find labor, So he brought help with him. He was good too. They were delivering the shipment, and the wife, the wife of the shipper, asked where they're going to sleep that night because it was kind of the middle of nowhere, and energy, oil and gas. And the guy's like, "Well, I got a bed in my truck." She's like, "Okay, well, that's for your helper. Where are you going to sleep?" He's like, "Oh, I don't know. We'll figure it out. I'll sleep on the floor in there." She's like, "No, you should stay in the house," which she meant stay in her room with her for 3 or 4 nights. And then the only way we found out is, first of all, she'd married. That's the person.
Obviously.
And second of all, the way that we found out is the driver had been there for days and days, and we're like, "What is happening? Why aren't you done yet? You're supposed to be down the road moving the next person." And that's why he felt comfortable overstaying his invite, I guess.
Yeah. That, I mean, all sorts of crazy things happen,
Yeah,
and
yeah. Driver lost a job, and that's too bad. He was really good, but that's a little bit over the line.
that's over the line. I agree. That's over the line. But it's one of those stories that they'll tell. I mean, it's must be miserable to be not, but you make your own decisions. Let's put it that way.
Man, speaking of Colorado, there a few years ago, I got some incredible pictures from a driver. Just huge. I talked about snow coming down. They got like 18 inches of snow in between the time he arrived that night and they're going to deliver the next morning. So he was snowed in. He was covered up.
Oh wow.
He walked up. It was a mountain, not the whole mountain, obviously, but
Yeah.
he walked a steep incline to the customer's house through this thick snow that had just fallen. Told him the situation. He assessed the driver assessed the situation himself, and he asked the customer. He said, "Well, if you really need your stuff right now, can I use your snowmobile?" And he rigged up a trailer behind the snowmobile, and he did a shuttle from his truck on the snowmobile, and it was a huge shipment. It was 25,000 pounds.
Wow.
So he shuttled it all day on a snowmobile.
But
Crazy. There's even a hot tub on there, and he got it up there.
oh wow, that is a phenomenal job by the way. Like, imagine thinking outside of the box.
Oh
Using
yeah.
First of all, having a snowmobile, that's badass. Second of all, using the snowmobile to do a moving job, it has to be a bit of fun.
Yeah. It's
It has,
amazing.
it has to be fun. And 25,000 pounds, that's no joke. That's a very big move.
And you go back in our industry, golly, it was back when I was on the crew in the 90s, mid 90s, late 90s. Man, you found those drivers everywhere. I mean, they're the cowboys of the road. I mean, they would do whatever it took to get things done, take care of the customer. And it's just sad to see them retiring, leaving the industry, just hanging it up. They can't make as much money now. The trucks are more expensive.
Yeah.
All the regulations, EPA violations. Oh man, it gets so tough out there.
I mean, it is tough, and it's a tough job. I mean, it's a very very tough job. if you're just hauling stuff, let alone moving someone's furniture and putting it back in, and then you have to deal with the emotions of customers. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a very very tough job. You have basically a few roles in it. Like you do therapy with the people, you basically do counseling, you are their shoulder to cry on. You
Yeah.
can be more than that, as we heard from your story, depending on the customer. And I mean, it's not easy. That's why one of the reasons why there's a huge shortage of drivers right now
Yeah.
across the industry. Not just like logistic, like not just moving, but like logistics as well.
Mhm.
Um, Now, I got a couple of questions. Obviously, um, talk in terms of next move. What is your next move? That's a very terrible joke, so bear with me. So
Next move, it's June. It's middle of summertime,
yeah,
so things are pretty hot and heavy in the industry. On top of that, there's still high fuel prices, a little bit of COVID hangover. It's
yeah,
just kind of tough out there. So we're walking it out slowly. Try not to push too much business. We want to make sure that we're doing what we're saying and we're taking care of the customers and we're making sure the movers are making money. So we're just slowly walking through the summer right now. I'd say September, October, we'll probably lay on the gas a little bit, push forward. Yeah.
that's nice. I mean, summer is a hectic period. Because what, if I'm not mistaken, 60 something percent of revenue gets built in the 3 months
Yeah.
a year.
Yeah. It's moving. It's a tough industry, whether you're an owner or driver. It's tough. You got to
Yeah,
figure it out. That's actually exactly why we built NextMove to begin with, is to help the movers, whether it's a owner or a small business, an agency owner, drivers, whoever. Like, we want them to make more money. We want them to be successful again. We want them to have business that fits their business model at the prices they need and the prices they want. And the only way to really get there is to systematize a lot of the office stuff. A lot
yeah.
of the office stuff, it doesn't need manpower. There's too much overhead, way too much overhead. You can go directly as you can from the customer to the mover doing the move without much overhead in between. Instead of all these brokers handing stuff off and making calls and smiling and dialing is what they all call it. Then you can save the customer money, sure, but you can ultimately make the mover more money and have them a better business model. Allow them to invest in themselves some more, so you don't see all this broken down equipment on the road anymore. It's it's sad to see that happen, and I've watched it for too long, so I wanted to step in and try to help however I could.
I like that. I like. I mean, you need to know the industry to be able to step in and do that kind of stuff. And speaking of brokers,
Oh, you're gonna open that can, huh?
I don't think I want to open that can of worms. But let's go in as I'm moving for the first time and have 50 brokers reach out to me. And what is the go-to play for the customer? What should I be doing? Because every broker is going to sound the same.
They sound the same. That's right. Man, that's so hard. And we learned whenever we launched our website initially, that's what everybody thought we were too. Man, I'd be really cautious to give out my name, my phone number, my email address. You shouldn't like you shouldn't need to give that stuff out in order to get a quote. And that's what most brokers are doing. They're just trying to get your information, so they keep hitting you up over and over and over again.
And
And the next thing,
they
yeah. And the next thing they're trying to do is get your money. That's it. As soon as they get any money from you, whether it's a down payment, they get your credit card number, they just want some money from you, they're done. They're out of it. And you won't hear from them again. So if someone's pushing to get your name, email, phone number, or money up front, steer clear. Warning signs should go up. There's an old veteran, like 85-year-old veteran, that was talking to one of our customer service ladies last week, and he just said it was his gut. He said all these other people I'm talking to that are trying to book my move for me, I didn't feel right. But I feel great with you guys. Like, you guys are genuine and upfront, and you're not pushing really hard to get my money. You just want to help me through my move. So it's I definitely watch out for people trying to get stuff from you up front, and trust your gut.
I have a big gut, so I'm going to trust it. I'm going
All
to
right.
trust Cool. So we've touched a bit about on brokers.
Mhm.
So let's move on. No pun intended there. And let's talk about how, that is how, like you told me the reasoning why. You told me the why of NexMuv,
Mhm.
the why, but how it started. I'm curious to hear how, because we heard the why.
Yeah, I'll tell you how. Yeah, Lee. It started probably 18 years ago,
Wow. Okay.
and I was in the office of my family moving company, and watching the complete lack of technology everywhere. Everybody was using paper, even me in local operations. Um, One of our owners, he saw a software platform that was just kind of getting started in Mover Suite.
Mhm.
They're still kind of the same they were then, but they're still around. They do their job. But I ended up having a weekly stand-up call with the founder and with his COO. It just them two and me. I didn't really think about um, till after the fact, 2020. Um, but during the process, I was like, this is fantastic. I can just tell them what I want, and all of a sudden it's on the software. And then I can run the business better. It's better for our business. But what they were doing is building the software, adding more users to the point where they could sell and retire. So I kind of gave away some of that. I didn't realize I was young and ignorant. I just thought it was good. So that's too short sighted.
I mean, it happens. It happens.
Yeah, but we had actually developed out a 50-page white paper of how to take software, technology, some hardware even into the moving industry and really help the industry, specifically with the drivers and the movers again, which would streamline things. And this was technology, man, it's tough to come by 18 years ago. Uh, I mean, they didn't even have Google Maps then, so.
Yeah, but
uh,
I mean, software, like moving software, is not easy to come by now, even.
Oh, non-moving software? No, not at all. And that's another reason why the how is happening this way. I couldn't get it out of my head. I brought that proposal to our ownership, and they're like, "No, we don't want to spend money developing software. Let's go buy some trailers," which makes sense. You can see how quickly a trailer is going to pay itself off, and you can depreciate over 5 years
Yeah.
and call it good and be done with it. But I was like, I just couldn't get it out of my head. So I kept watching the tech side. I saw startups come and go. Saw some big, huge companies like FedEx, for example, try to get into the space, and they couldn't really figure it out. They partnered with Servo once and tried to do some there, but never really had much success. They couldn't get traction on it. I saw a startup that was pretty darn close. I was like, man, I talked to their CEO and then ended up talking to their venture capitalist guy that was backing them. I said, you guys have a close product. It's close to what the industry wants, but you can't infiltrate the industry. They won't listen to you. And if you don't do it perfectly, you're going to miss. I was like, I know what to do with it. But this time I knew my ownership wasn't going to put money in. So I was like, give me some equity, give my boss some equity because they're my employer, and let's get going. So we were pushing the right direction. It was actually, well, I'll back up. They ended up going forward. They had a fork in the road, and they could either go virtual surveys
Yeah.
or they could go to more the transportation side. And I was like, man, go to the transportation side. That's what movers really need. And they're like, no, let's do virtual surveys. I said, well, there's going to be a lot of virtual surveys. And if you don't do it perfectly, it's just going to be commoditized and push you out.
Yeah.
And then if you don't have a good system for it and all that good stuff that you already know about, I said, you're going to miss. And you have too big of a team, too big of a burn rate. So that's what he did. He went that direction, and he couldn't generate enough revenue to cover his burn rate, and he went under. But I still couldn't get it out of my head. And I finally, a few years ago, I was talking to a good friend who worked really high up at a Fortune 100 company on the tech side, and he was kind of the conduit between the C-level, the board making decisions,
Yeah.
and the development teams. And so the C-level would talk business and they'd be like, we want this done. And so he translated down and find the right product team, right developers, and get it all going. So I was just talking to him, and I told him that idea about NexMuv, and he said, "Oh man, let me run with this." I said, "Go for it. I'm employed full time. I'm busy. If you want to do it, here's all the stuff. Go do it, man." And so he did, and he brought on another partner, and those guys pushed it. So I ended up resigning the family business a year ago, and I wasn't sure if I was going to jump into NexMuv or not. I had a lot of different opportunities. I just stood back for a little bit and just take my time. But then I looked at what they had done on the NexMuv side. I was like, oh man, this is great. You're going to help movers and customers at the same time. That's perfect. So let me jump in and help fine tune this a little bit before you guys really launch it. And so I did. So that's that's a long story, but that's how it happened, though.
And it's fine. I like a good long story. It's not a boring long story, if that makes so you're fine. I hate boring long
Yeah,
stories.
but you're a mover, so you don't think it's boring.
Yeah, me specifically, but it's fine. It's completely fine. But to be fair, I mean, it just conveys the story of resilience and how tech is very hard to come by in this industry. And
Yeah.
no,
Oh man, and then beyond that, it's like I told you what NextMove does. That's all it does. So it's still missing these other pieces of third-party companies, third-party services, virtual survey companies that you can trust on, depend on, financing companies, all these different pieces that help make the moving actually go really smoothly and nicely. Yeah, I told you what we did, but that's not all of it. So whenever you say there's like a dearth of technology within the industry, it still is, and it's so sad because we can't work with these, even if they're a good company out there, we can't work with them because their lack of technology makes it so our technology can't work with it. They're not API connections. It's not built correctly. Sometimes there is no technology. A lot of times they're just Excel spreadsheets. We've even had to jump in and help companies build a little bit of their software so we could actually work with them. It's wild.
it's wild. That's one of the reasons. That's one of the reasons Drive Sales started. To be fair,
Nice.
we remove the redundancy in Excel spreadsheets and bring a little light in this industry in terms of software. But enough about Drive Sales. It's a long and funny story. In any
Yeah,
case,
that's really a big deal, though. I want to by any means discount what you guys have brought forward. Um, any way that you can help systematize anything movers are doing, it helps tremendously. Their profit margins are so thin, and that trickles down to the drivers, and they try to. I mean, not in a mean way, but not in a vengeful way by any means. But agencies are trying to survive, so sometimes the drivers don't get as much money, So any way you can ever systematize manual processes, make things more streamlined and easier, you're saving everybody money. Everybody,
That's the
you
point.
because it's a big deal.
Yeah, that's the point. To be fair, is to make sure at the end of the day, it's this simple line: helping moving companies reach their full revenue potential. That's all it
Oh
is.
man, nice.
That's all it is. That's the motto that we live by, a slogan, whatever you want to call it, value prop, and it's just to help people earn. I'm not in this to you know uh, build something for myself. I actually want to build for people that will use it and actually will benefit them.
Yeah,
So it's not it's always a work in progress, and I'm super happy to be on this journey to be able to help. Honestly,
yeah,
uh,
yeah. Well, I've seen your product. It's a big thing that the movers could really need and benefit from. Um,
thank you.
Man, they're a difficult bunch to get in front of. Especially with technology. And it's nothing against them. They've been burnt so many times over
Yeah,
the
I know.
last 20, 30, 40 years with van lines, maybe getting too deep in their pockets, taking advantage of them a little bit. Off and on, it goes in waves. Relocation companies doing the same to them, move management companies, lead generation companies, companies that are dominating the SEO ground and trying to sell them leads, not even just lead generation. But they've been burnt over and over and over again. So why would a mover trust more technology? They've already seen everything.
And
Everything.
especially when you have this face, who's going to trust technology in this face? This is not, see that, look at this. It's not a great face. I wish I had a better face, but it's fine. We do what
Well,
we have, so it's fine.
maybe you can get a good looking salesman or
Oh
woman.
yeah, I should. I definitely should. Because look at this. Look at this. Who's gonna go like, hey, look, that's a good looking, trustworthy face. I just like I just ran out of prison,
Yeah,
but
it's all right.
yeah, it's fine. It's completely fine. Yeah, I've done it for so long. People are used to it now. So cool. I mean, there's a bunch of topics that we've covered, right? There's a bunch of things. So I'm in terms of like wrapping the conversation a bit up, is I want to highlight that next move is a phenomenal piece. Like if you're like me who's never moved before,
Hmm.
and you're looking to move, next move would be a great place to be at. And I would suggest everybody who's watching and listening to this, check them out because they're doing great things to making sure that your process, when I say your, I mean mine, because I'm moving now, is streamlined and you get the care that you need from a personal concierge that will actually be your therapist as well. And it's included because
Yep.
therapists are hard to come by and they're expensive.
Yep.
It's nice. It's nice to have both of them. So anyway, in closing out, I really want to thank you for jumping on with me. I appreciate it. I know it's June 1st. It's super busy, so I love that you're here, and I'm looking forward to what NexMuv does next. This is I'm terrible at this
Yeah.
job.
No, it was a good conversation. I appreciate it. I like having conversations with people that really understand the complexities out there. And not only that, they're like minded in terms of trying to find a way to fix it for people, try to help people, try to add value to everybody that you're dealing with. Absolutely. If you're not adding value to everybody there, then there's no reason for you.
The one we could just call it. We just call a spade a spade. You're useless. But
I won't name names, but
no,
they're
yeah,
out
I'll say it. If I'm not, at the end of the day, I mean, if the technology is not helping you, then it's useless,
there.
regardless of how much you spent, what it looks like, and who built it.
Yeah,
Unless it helps you do your job better and more effectively, it's useless. It's a time suck.
absolutely.
Time
Yeah.
suck. Anyway, let's wrap up. Thanks everybody for tuning in. I appreciate you guys and gals. So till next episode. Bye.